Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 360 Sports Show, coming to you live through Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch. I am Andrew Pizzelli. He is Christian Lauber. We've got tons to get to today. We've got big things, a huge week in the NBA. NHL playoffs are continuing. Lots of other little news. We want to hear from you in the comment section in any of the live streams, and as always, you can email the show at the 360 Sports Show at gmail.com with whatever questions, thoughts, comments, or concerns you have. So without any further ado, first, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. We're starting at 10 o'clock today. Normally we start at 11, but wanted to get the show rolling a little earlier here today. Special day, and it's a gorgeous day as well. Christian, good to see you. I say we start with the NBA. 13 years ago this past week, Kevin Garnett said famously, "Anything is possible." This week, I think in the NBA has proved that truly anything is possible. We saw some incredible comebacks in some of these games. Where do you want to start? I mean, it was really, take your pick. I mean, there was not a dull moment this week in the NBA.
Yeah, I think we just start with last night's Game 7. I mean, that was pretty exciting game, especially down the stretch, obviously, between two pretty good teams and not so good teams. It was a weird game, but I think we just start there because, I mean, look, a lot of injuries in the NBA this year, which is kind of hurting the product a little bit, but no Kyrie Irving last night, and so it's Durant and Giannis, and those two are going at it, and that should be a matchup here for the next few years. So, that's
is it
the
a
most prominent
matchup?
to me?
Is it a matchup?
Well, not really. It is on one end.
Guarding each other. Well, Durant guarded Giannis a little bit. Giannis pretty much shot away from Durant. We'll get deeper into that, but yeah, let's start there. So last night, the Milwaukee Bucks in Game 7 eliminate the Brooklyn Nets. Now, there's a lot of ways to look at this. The Nets obviously weren't what they were supposed to be. You're supposed to have Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, James Harden. That was what they tried to assemble. And when it happened, we said, all right, you sold off a lot of these young pieces. You brought in James Harden. You have a 2-year window this year and next year. And guess what happens? When you pour all of your resources into 3 players, if one of them goes down and one of them's a little nicked up, you saw the Nets had nothing outside of Durant. I mean, Joe Harris, really good player, but he wasn't.
He didn't give them much.
When another team can say, okay, Joe Harris, you're not the 4th, 5th option being left wide open all the time, you saw what you get what you had the last couple of games. James Harden obviously was not the same guy with his ability to handle the ball and get to the rim and get past guys. He says he had a grade 2 hamstring sprain, which I think he's lying because Colin, who's a friend of the show, has mentioned this to me. There's no way you'd even be able to run the way he was moving on a great, like, without significant pain and limited mobility. Like, if he really did, they must have had him numbed up like crazy because...
Oh, I'm sure they did, yeah.
I can't even fathom him being able to move the way he did on that. So I'm sure maybe he's embellishing a little bit. But the Nets were just never what they were, advertised to be. And we all said that even when healthy, they themselves said, oh, we have to overcome our newness They didn't feel, and Charles Barkley said it last night. He's like, listen, man, do they have like some of the best talent? Yeah, but they're not the best team. You can't just put the 3 best one-on-one players on a team and expect to win a championship. He didn't think it would happen even if they were healthy. We'll never know that. And guess what? Now their window's down to 1 year.
The key in this series was Kyrie Irving getting hurt, by the way. Like, let's not just overshadow that. Kyrie Irving was playing very good basketball, and so was Durant together. So, like, we can't just overshadow and say, well, now, I mean, I guess, you put talent on one team, it's not going to work. Well, we don't know that because one of the guys got injured.
Sure, but that's what I'm saying now. Their window was 2 years. Now it's down to 1.
Yeah, sure, but that doesn't matter. I mean, I think overall, I think the Nets' approach was get these guys in here and see if you can win a championship. I don't think they're wrong for doing it.
No. You got to go for it, especially when they were trying to like retake. They wanted to try and make New York theirs. That's a thing. Zach Weiss, who's come on this program, talked about that, like how the Nets have wanted. They went all in to go get Pierce and KG. They thought that would be their push. Hey, we just got back to Brooklyn. Let's try and make the city ours. That didn't work out. Now this only has 1 more year to work out before it's blow-upsville again for the Nets, and it'd be bad for a long time. But let's, the Milwaukee Bucks find a way. Another thing that Charles Barkley said that stuck with me is when teams do dumb things and it works, you keep doing dumb things. And it's a larger NBA problem, I think. You watch the Bucks offensively last night, and you see times where they move the ball. Guys are setting picks, guys are moving, and because of the ability of Giannis to get into the paint, and a guy like Lopez who's a big but can also kind of shoot, you can get these mismatches if they actually like run their offense. But too much, it's like, we're just going to give the ball to Jrue, and he'll go one-on-one, but he'll hold the ball for like 10 seconds and then just kind of dribble around. Or it's Giannis who, the guy, doesn't have a bag. He just kind of, the guy's just standing like, dude, I'm not biting on any of this. Go ahead, shoot.
He has a bag. It's just empty. That's the problem.
Yeah, the bag is empty. And they just get so stagnant and don't utilize their size. Like, well, you saw it when they attacked, and I'll give Giannis credit. For most of that game, I thought there were some times he settled for shots, but last night he knocked them down. Because I said if he attempts more than, we'll have to look up. I said if he attempts more than 3 threes in this game, because he'll have to attempt 1 or 2 just to try and keep him honest.
He was 2 of 6.
6? Too much. Dude, you saw late in the game, they were like down 5. It was like, this could slip. They're 1 Durant stupid 3 or a Harden 3 away from this is just over. And they just attacked. And when the Bucks did that, if they just did that for a whole game, they should have blown that team out with how worn down they were. But they don't. Yeah. They don't utilize their size. And we're going to get to the Jazz, and I think they had the same problem too against the Clippers. But are you at all do you come away from this, Christian, confident in the Bucks? Like I honestly don't.
I think they got lucky in overtime, to be honest with you, because I think once Durant hit that shot, they were kind of stunned. And luckily for them, coming out in the overtime, both teams looked gassed, and also the Nets missed about 8 wide open shots. Joe Harris, most notably, 2 wide open threes, missed both of them.
Yeah.
So at that point, I feel like the Nets had their opportunity there to just kind of hit like a 3, get up by 5 in overtime, and I think the Bucks would have wilted away. But instead, they missed a bunch of shots, and the Bucks, they got a jump hook from Giannis, and Middleton hit a shot, which was hard to do for him last night, surprisingly. The streaky shooter that he is, he doesn't show up some of the time, which is, infinitely frustrating. For once, I find myself agreeing with James Harden, though, about Giannis. The free throw thing is just, it blows me away. It is so irritating to watch this guy shoot free throws. Not only does he take 45 seconds to shoot,
I love how the crowd was counting it out too.
Yeah, he misses 45% of the time, 55% of the time.
That air ball? That air ball was bad.
That
came up like 3 feet short of the rim. I'm like,
after a solid 11, 12-second count, air ball. Like, what are we doing? Get on the line and shoot the ball because you suck anyway. So what is it taking the time? But that aside, I thought Giannis was overall pretty good last night. But it does not give me any faith going forward in that team. I mean, look, they're good at home, and I thought they played relatively fine last night. they still should have lost the game, to be honest with you. I think the Nets got a little bit lucky at the end of regulation,
With
but
the
in
way
overtime,
they play, they should have lost. But with how healthy the Nets were and what the Bucks should be capable of, the Bucks should have won. Does that make sense? It's like the way they play makes it so that they should have lost, but they shouldn't be playing that way. They should have been way better, which is why I have no faith in them.
Lopez is another guy that, like, you look at the stat line, you're like, wow, good game from him. Then you do the eye test in the fourth and overtime. God, does he suck?
What was he thinking? That, like, and
honestly
though, I love the inside the NBA crew, but Shaq, man, like trying to throw Lopez under the bus. They asked Middleton after the game, "Hey, did anybody tell Brooke how much time was on the clock? Like in the huddle there, were you guys talking about that?" It's like, what are you trying? What's that question supposed to get at? Like reporters ask that in a post game. That post game with like the TNT crew is supposed to be kind of like fun, not like a hit piece. They're like trying to get Middleton to throw Brooke under the bus, which he did. But
yeah, I would have.
But I mean,
it's a dumb play.
What was he thinking? It's like, dude, it's 2 seconds. I mean, is he gonna make the shot? No. But if he at least hits the rim, there's a fight for a rebound. There might not even be time for Durant to have gotten that chance to hit an absolutely stupid fadeaway shot.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Which, again, why in critical instances are they not doubling him, or are they not putting Giannis, somebody with length, even at the end of overtime? It's like,
you know what's kind of weird to me?
Holiday guarding Durant, he gonna shoot over him. Now
why does Giannis not want that though? Why does he not want that moment? Like, let me get on this guy. Let me kind of like lock him down and be the hero. Instead, he's sitting in the paint doing nothing. Like, I don't understand.
Well, that's right. It's not even like he's sitting in the paint being like, hey, I'm the last line of defense. There was times Durant would get by Middleton, get by Tucker, get by Holiday, or whomever happened to be out on him. And it's not even like, hey, all right, I'm going to play Durant on the screen. I'm going to force him into the middle, but Giannis is coming from the weak side. Like, we'd rather have him be in the middle to use his length. He's not in the frame. He's not even there to, like, come and help. So it's like, what is the point of you then?
He's the longest guy on the floor, and he refuses to guard the guy.
Like
what a matchup that is.
Since Game 5, I mean, all series, but, I mean, since Game 5 where they had that lead in Brooklyn, and then it got wilted away, you saw Durant just take over and torch whoever was guarding him. Didn't matter. Because, guys, he was just shooting over guys. It's like, at some point, Giannis, like, or coaches. I mean, I heard the argument, well, maybe they don't want him wasting the energy guarding Durant one-on-one so that he can have the energy to go and attack offensively. I know the TNT crew last night mentioned he looked like he was laboring. Was he dealing with a cold or something? Guess what? That's where legends are born. Michael Jordan is suffering from flu-like symptoms. He was hungover, but that's
Those
Paul
days
Pierce,
are over though.
Paul Pierce on torn cartilage in his knee said, you know what? Hey, I want Kobe in Game 4, down 24 points. Let me guard Kobe, so that we have a chance to win this game. Like, let me guard LeBron.
Yeah.
Even in the twilight of his career, I just need to be great in one game. Let me go. People are gonna say, oh, this was an epic battle between Durant and Giannis. I was like, no, it wasn't. The two of them never matched up.
Well, it's all about analytics now. So, like, PJ Tucker stopped him so many times, so let's just throw PJ Tucker on him. Which he did a representable job, but also, like, Durant was just going off no matter who. So you have to double him.
You look at that last shot in the fourth quarter. You knew Durant was getting the ball. They didn't double him. They left PJ Tucker on an island, and he just turns, elevates, and Tucker's hand wasn't even in Durant's eyes. It's not even like he was given any sort of resistance. And Durant, if he was wearing like a size 15.5, probably that's a 3 instead of a 2.
Yeah, probably.
And that game's over. Because everybody said it, like, if you give the Nets the ball back here down 2, Durant, even in overtime, you're like, Durant's going to hit a shot. Like, is there any doubt Durant's going to hit a shot here?
Yeah.
He airmails that 3 in overtime, which ended the game. That's going to be an epic meme. That freeze frame is going to be an epic meme.
Probably. The other second guess I have is for Steve Nash. Why did he not call timeout there?
I agree.
I looked at Kevin Durant and I was like, okay, this guy needs like some Gatorade or something. Someone splash him with water because he was gassed at that point. He played 53 minutes.
Yeah.
All 53.
I understand not calling it immediately. There's like 12 seconds left. It looks like it's going to be a fast break. It's like, hey, let's not let the defense get settled. It looks like we got a good cross matchup here. let's just play it out. But as soon as like Durant got the ball to Harden, and then Harden started to slow it up into the half court, it's like, okay, fast break's gone. Time.
Yeah.
Let's draw something
I
up.
would have called it right away just based on when I saw Durant get the ball. I said, "Oh, he's not going to do anything here."
Yeah.
He's like moving at a snail's pace up the floor because he's like dead down. 52 minutes into the game, 53 minutes into the game.
Yeah. Does I mean, hey, Mike Budenholzer has a job for another series, at least, and I thought he should have been fired after Game 5. Charles Barkley said, he's like, hey man, you know how I feel about saying people should get fired, but nobody should get fed on that plane. Back to Milwaukee. Is Steve Nash's job in any sort of jeopardy?
Well, yeah. You got Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant sitting in front of you. Anybody that takes that job is going to be lucky if they have it after 1 year. So, yeah, I'd say so. I don't know. Like, it's all about who the stars want nowadays. So they make every decision for the front office, the coaching staff. Ultimately, yeah, I'd say I would be worried if I was Steve Nash, but also he'd probably get another job. So,
yeah,
worried about losing the Brooklyn job, maybe not about his future or anything, but I mean, it's just like one of those things. How can you not look at it and say, like, I might be on the chopping block now because, the stars make this decision.
Do you think it's a situation where, like, he could potentially get let go this summer, or is it like what happened with oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name, the head coach for the Cavs who took them to the finals in 2015, and then they booted him after like 10 games in 2016.
Oh yeah,
for Ty
yeah.
Lue. I could see his face. I'm just totally blanking on his name. They were like, they have a winning record. They're the top seed in the East, but we're gonna fire. Oh gosh, he was a European coach. I can't remember his name for the life of me right now. I know you'll find it.
David Blatt.
David Blatt.
He was a dopey looking guy, but
yeah. But like, was a legitimate coach. He was like trying to actually coach LeBron, and LeBron was like, "Nah, I want Ty Lue."
He was actually born in Boston, Massachusetts, believe it or not. David Blatt. And he actually did a representable job, but hey, you know what? Get out.
Yeah. So
we don't want a real coach.
Steve Nash could get David Blatted.
Yeah.
He could get Blatted. That doesn't sound good.
Yeah. So that's a strange one. Might have to keep that going though.
So obviously the Bucks move on. They're in the Eastern Conference Finals. They will play the winner of the Atlanta 76ers Game 7. This is just great. Game 7.
I'm shocked this is 7 games.
Why did you shocked because Philly was able to force it, or shocked because Atlanta has hung in this long?
Yeah, that. Like at this point now, I'm like, I feel like Philly's going to choke it away. But there was a time where I was like, okay, Philly going into this series initially, this is going to be 5-6 games, right? I mean, Atlanta is what they are. They're pretty decent, and Trae Young's a superstar, but they don't have enough to guard Embiid and Seth Curry and Tobias Harris, all these weapons. Now Ben Simmons is another one that sucks. I've said from the day he was drafted, he's overrated and nobody listened. But yeah, I'm just shocked that the now at this point in the series, now it could go the other way. I'm shocked the 76ers are still in it because I feel like they choke, and their head coach does similar. So it's a weird series, but 7 games, that's what the NBA wants, right? I mean, the first round in the NBA is kind of useless, like most of the time. But now the second round, you got 2 7-gamers on the East side and another, like the Western Conference is Phoenix and Clippers. I mean, that's a pretty good matchup in itself, where neither of those teams were expected to kind of be there at the end. You always expect the Clippers to choke it away. And the Suns, I mean, they've been in the conversation just based on their talent, but who thought they were going to get to the conference final?
We doubted them because of their youth, right?
Yeah.
We said, hey, this is such a young team. Are they actually going to be able to get there? And we'll get to them and some of the problems that, they're going to be facing now going forward, missing Chris Paul. For Atlanta and Philly, I think, I was obviously surprised at how easily Atlanta handled the Knicks. I just thought, even though it's the 4-5 matchup, and those teams are going to be close, I just thought the Knicks would put up more of a fight. Atlanta kind of handled their business there, but you didn't look at it and say, like, oh, wow, watch out for the Hawks now. Then they took game 1. Then they fall down 2-1, and you're like, okay, Philly's, they've got this. Atlanta wins game 4. And then game 5, I mean, talk about, again, an epic choke in another collapse, and you could see it coming. I was
Oh
watching the
yeah.
game. I said, the way no lead is safe in the NBA anymore. Like 20 points at halftime, that's 7 threes. Really, you have to think about it that way. That's just 7 threes. So like, if you have 4 or 5 bad possessions in a row with how well guys shoot threes, especially a guy like Trae Young who can hit from anywhere,
Yeah.
another team is going to get right back in the game. And if they make it 20 to 10 points in a minute and a half, a 10-point lead in the third quarter, that's nothing. For a young team that can run a whole
Yeah.
game like Atlanta is, a lead is like that is nothing. Now, the Sixers did themselves no favors by not playing well with the lead. You know, again, when you have a 20-something point lead, you don't need to keep going for knockout punches. Just play even. Just play smart. And the Sixers, I don't know, man. I mean, how do we feel about Doc Rivers? Like, I really now am conflicted because it's just a strange thing that the track record of his teams have been they can't win closeout games. I mean, they win a title in 08, right? All the credit in the world to that.
That's the talent, though.
But every year since then, he's had talented teams, Hall of Fame talent, and his teams, for whatever reason,
Wilt away.
can't close out series.
Yeah.
And can't close out games. They got leads in games and can't close out. And now you can go to every single one and find extenuating circumstances. Hey, this guy just went off, or this guy got hurt, or these calls didn't go our way. But it's a very strange pattern.
Yeah.
Outside of 2011, where they weren't beating the Heat, that team was tired, banged up, chemistry problems after the Perk trade. You had Shaq and Jermaine O'Neal both get hurt. I mean, that team wasn't going to go anywhere past the first round. We all knew that. So that wasn't a choke to lose in 5 to Miami that year. But every other time after that, they had 3-1, 3-2 series leads and just couldn't find a way.
Here's what I'll say about Doc. He's overrated. I mean, I think he's a good coach. I think he's a good coach, but he's overrated. And
How
he's
does it
not
happen? It's crazy.
He's not a guy that is a big X and O's guy. He never has been that. Like, it's not like
I thought he's pretty good X and O's. I think he is a good X and O's
I think
guy.
he's a good game manager. He's a good, like, I don't know. I think he manages his teams well, typically, and, like, gets guys together. I mean, you saw it with the Celtics, at least. I mean, he brought those guys together and, told them basically how it was. They bought in, and I feel like that's what Doc is good at. The lineup rotations for Game 5, I want to say, when they choked that away, awful decisions in game. And I just feel like he is another guy that, again, the track record speaks for itself. He's not. I still think he's like top 10, top 15 in the league. Who's gonna, who are you gonna find that's gonna be in front of him?
Top 10.
But,
I don't know if I'll go top 5 now. I had him there, but
yeah, the track record's there.
It's just a little alarming, and it's predictable because even middle of the year, I mean, people like I know Andy Gresh on EEI said like, listen, man, Sixers are gonna be the 1 or the 2 seed, and they're gonna win the first round, but like they could choke the second round away, and Doc could get fired. Like he didn't see Doc Rivers lasting more than a year in Philly. Because they were like, he could choke a series away and they fire him. Like, now I wouldn't say, I don't know. It's not like they had the lead, it's not like they were up 3-1 in the series. But losing Game 5 the way they lost it, and if they do lose tonight, does it matter at all the aesthetics of it? If they blow a big lead tonight, is Doc in any sort of jeopardy tonight in Philly?
I wouldn't think so. I think just based on the year, I think they were better than when Brown was there. I mean, maybe not in the postseason, but I still think they underachieved in terms of, all those years when is it Brett Brown? I don't even know. He sucked so bad. Yeah, Brett Brown. So, like, he was never in jeopardy really until what? How long was he there? 3 years of like underachieving and never getting these guys to come together.
19, yeah, I think 4 years maybe.
Yeah, that's too many. I wouldn't think they off Doc after 1 year. I mean,
they let him get rid of Ben Simmons and then see what he can do.
Honestly, that's where I would start. Yeah, I don't think Simmons meshes with pretty much anybody on the team, but especially Embiid, and Embiid's really the guy. I mean, if he's on any given night, he's the best player on the floor. So when he wants to be, that's another thing. But I feel like, he's Doc has gotten to Embiid in a way that Embiid is showing up every night. It's not like he's
banged
dogging
up,
it.
and he's banged up too.
Yeah,
Another
exactly.
guy. I've been impressed this playoff run between NHL and in the NBA. There's a lot of guys who have this narrative surrounding them, for better or worse, that they're quitters. That when the lights get bright, they kind of fade away. And it's a lot of those guys have shown up this year in the past couple of weeks. Tuukka Rask, for better or worse, right? Gutted out a game. Embiid, we know, is banged up. Could easily say, you know what? It's been a long year. I got like a half-torn meniscus. I don't feel like doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Paul George, a guy, Kawhi goes down. People like to say Paul George, hasn't been playoff P in a long time. That dude has shown up the last
Big time.
three games. So it's been awesome to see some of these guys stick it to the narrative makers. Ben Simmons, he needs to be the next one to do that here tonight in Game 7.
Good luck. Because he can't shoot the ball. Like what good are you?
But that's what. So this is what I'm saying though. It's like he's clearly, I think, listening, right? Because you see him, dude. Are you Steph Curry? No. Are you Chris Paul in a mid-range? No. Are you? No. Be you. Be Ben Simmons. Attack the rim. You see him. He gets the ball. He runs into the front court and then just stops.
You know why?
He's not attacking the rim. He doesn't even attempt. Again,
I have the answer for you. He's scared to shoot free throws.
Exactly. And that's a major issue. And
you ever seen a man with
Barkley was on fire this whole week on TNT. He said it. The Sixers should have been making this kid shoot jump shots in games for the last 3 years. Because now he's just so scared to do it that he's worthless. That size, that ability, his strength is to be like Rajon Rondo couldn't hit a jump shot. But he would take him just to keep his own confidence. He was never afraid to shoot a jump shot. He'd be reluctant. But I don't think anybody would ever say Rondo was scared to take a shot. Ben Simmons is scared to shoot. Ben Simmons is scared to attack the hoop because he doesn't want to get fouled. And he can't do anything. I mean, he's a good defender. He's a good rebounder. But, dude, you're a max contract player. You have to contribute something on the offensive end. And he's not doing it. When like one of your highest paid best players can't be on the floor in the final 2 minutes of a game, that's a problem. Now I think if he just forgets about being, if he could just forget and just play, like don't worry about, just go 1 for 2 at the line. Don't worry about like, oh, I'm going to miss them both. Keep attacking. You'll rack up fouls on guys. Guys, they'll stop hacking you. The whole team isn't going to want to be in the bonus the whole game. So attack. That helps your teammates out because maybe, hey, they're following me. Well, now when Embiid gets fouled just on a no-nonsense rebound, now he's shooting. He needs to be aggressive.
He doesn't need to shoot jump shots or anything like that. He needs to be able to shoot free throws. So just stick him on the line at practice and have him shoot 400 free throws. Because if he can't do that, he's kind of one-dimensional. He's okay on defense, and he has been decent on defense, normally better than this series. And other than that, I guess he can pass, but you know what? I could do that. You sign me for a max contract? Hell no. Like, with a guy who has that much athleticism, you can't shoot free throws. You're not going to last in terms of a top-end, upper echelon, high-paid guy. That's just not who you are. You can't shoot.
He's got the skill set of a role player.
Yeah, and he can't shoot. Like, you can't shoot, you're in trouble. But even that, he has the athleticism to get to the hoop, but he doesn't want to because at the other end of it, you have to get fouled, and you have to be able to make free throws. And his career is like 50%. It's really bad. And for someone to have that much athleticism and that much, like he's in shape, he plays defense, he plays hard. I feel like, and then he gets to the free throw line and he can't make a free throw.
Well, he doesn't have a playoff type game, right? We see him in regular seasons. We've seen him like almost drop like 20 points, 20 rebounds, 15 assists. Like he's capable of that when he's aggressive. Playoffs come and it seems like when the pressure gets high, he doesn't want to, like you said, he doesn't want to go to the hoop. And that's a major problem. That's I we gave Doc some grief. I think Doc's doing the best he possibly can to manage it, with situationally, like, all right, you in, you out, you here, you there, and also trying to, like, not let it get into Ben's head. Like, it seems like Simmons is, which, like, I don't know, is that better that he's okay understanding he needs to come off the floor in certain situations, or is it worse that he's just like, oh, yes, no, I'm a terrible offensive player right now.
If you're paid $35 million and you can't finish a game, you're in trouble.
Yeah. It's bad.
That's it. I don't know.
So then, that being said, now we haven't even said anything about really the Hawks, which Trae Young has been unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think. That dude's having, if they win this game and they get to the conference finals, I mean, he's starting to have one of those, like, oh, you're shooting around with some buddies in 10 years. You talk about, hey, remember, like, 2021 when Trae Young had that postseason? Like, this has the feel for the Hawks. This is like Allen Iverson 01. Like, he's gonna carry a team to a finals. They may not win. They might get swept by whoever comes out of the West. But Trae Young has definitely, for a guy that people doubted whether or not he'd even be able to fit in the NBA, he's becoming a superstar, and he's carrying a team with his ability.
They did a nice job around him, though, this year. Bogdanovich, they got, Capella and John Collins. It's a pretty good match because Collins can do a little bit more athletically than Capella, and Capella's a big guy. Yep. So they match up well against the Sixers. But Trae Young in itself, it's not like he's just shooting from the logo either. He's getting by people. He's good on the dribble.
Got that float.
He's got moves. He's got the floater. He's got the mid-range. I mean, he does pretty much just about everything. He can pass. So that guy is he's turning into a stud. Not that he wasn't before, but he's kind of, hit his peak here in his young years. I mean, he's what, 22, 21? Yeah. So pretty incredible, and I'm all in on the Hawks. I hope they win. I want to see Devin Booker versus Trae Young in the finals.
Yeah. So that brings us to, well, first, let's do this. So are you going to pick the Hawks tonight?
Why not? Yeah, please pick the Sixers because then they'll lose. So
I can't. I honestly can't. I can't in good faith pick the Sixers. They could win. I wouldn't be surprised to see them win. I just don't feel good. Zero trust in that process.
Process needs to end.
Yeah, process is ending probably tonight. Is that it? If they lose tonight, I think that's the end of the process, right? Like, the process is over because Ben Simmons probably out the door.
Yeah, I would think they look to move on from him.
So, interesting. The process is on the line tonight in Philly, and I'm going to go with Atlanta. Like the story, like the matchup. That brings us to...
Sorry, Hawks, you're screwed now.
The final matchup, and we'll talk now about the Utah Jazz, who are the number 1 seed in the West, eliminated by the Kawhi-less Clippers. I am stunned. Now, I imagined, I was pretty stunned last night. I didn't think Milwaukee had a chance to beat Brooklyn in Brooklyn, even with how banged up the Nets were. Just because I said, like Charles Barkley said, they do dumb things. I just think they're a dumb team. So I just said they're not gonna take advantage of the things they should to beat the Nets. But in the end, we expected them to be better. We thought they would expose the Nets. That certainly didn't happen. Even though they won, you didn't feel like, oh, they got to something and they beat them in 5 or 6. No, that didn't happen. Utah was kind of the runaway team in the Western Conference from beginning to end. Donovan Mitchell a little banged up. It's a tight series to start. Kawhi goes down. Kind of a non-contact knee injury. Just doesn't look good. And you say, well, that's it for the Clippers. You're relying on Paul George to just carry you now? Dude showed up. Dude showed up to close out that series, Game 5 and Game 6. Very impressive. And I'd say as much as it was impressive what Paul George did, and it was impressive what a guy like Terrence Mann did, which is like
ridiculous.
All time, hey, no name, not that he's a no name guy, but just random guy coming off the bench to
39 points.
Usually it's like, oh, that guy gives you 20, and that's like an epic like bench hero performance. 39 points. And hitting from everywhere.
In a closeout.
as much as, all the credit goes to the Clippers. Ty Lue made some, we'd like to get on Ty Lue, that he's just kind of like a passenger. He made adjustments. He made some actual adjustments in that series. Going small, big time adjustment, going zone at times, doubling. Listen, players don't just do that on the floor, right? Guys don't just, unless you have a guy like a Kevin Garnett back there who you give him the ability in a game as like the anchor of the defense, he might say like, hey man, like the guys like, we got to double, like, give me help here, blah, blah, blah. But by and large, teams switch up their coverages. That's a coach. Mm-hmm. Ty Lue out-coached Quinn Snyder in that series down the stretch. The Jazz are complicit in this loss too. You're up big in Game 6. Rolling your way towards forcing Game 7. Donovan Mitchell hitting shots. Everything's going your way. Clippers go small. And there's two things that you can do when another team goes small like that on you. It took Rudy Gobert out of the paint defensively, so now he's not there at the rim. That's the idea. Spread out this bigger team. Well, you can either punish them on the other end by going at the small matchup, which is Nick Batum trying to guard Rudy Gobert. And I know Gobert's not supposed to be an offensive talent. Guess what, dude? When you've got 6 inches on a guy in the NBA and you're stronger than him and should be able to get your feet at least 5 feet from the basket, you got to get that guy the ball. As the coach, you got to say, listen, let's get him the ball. Lobs, maybe it's pick and roll and it's a lob play. Or listen, we're going to run a set and we're going to get it into the post. When teams go small like that, that big guy has to have that ability. All these big guys, Giannis, we're looking at the same thing with Simmons. We're looking at the same thing because the Nets were going small. The Hawks are obviously a smaller team. They got Capella, but he's a leaper, right? Looking at all these teams with these big guys, Utah, Gobert, get your Lopez too on the Bucks. When you're being guarded by Jeff Green, you do him a favor by just standing at the 3-point line. Get in the paint and go to a move. All these guys need to get. LeBron James changed his career when he spent a summer with Hakeem Olajuwon and learned, hey, you can extend your career by playing in the post, and you're going to be able to exploit matchups better, not just by being a leaper and being crazy gifted athletically, but by having craft, by having moves to go to. Jazz don't have that. Gobert.
I don't think they move. I disagree a little bit because I don't think Gobert doesn't have. He's not athletic. He's not like.
But you don't need to be.
You're talking about.
You tell me Rudy Gobert couldn't like turn and pump fake a guy and get Nick Batum in the air and get
No, he
free
probably
throws?
could, right? But that's not their game. Like, you can't just all of a sudden say, okay, well they're small.
That's what I'm saying. This summer, NBA big men, get in the gym. Get in the gym and learn how to play basketball and not just be big. Because what are you doing? You're going to get exposed. And guess what? If you say you're right, you know what, Rudy, you don't have it. You'll never have it. Why is Joe Ingles rotting on the bench then? They went small and are basically going to have 5 3-point shooters, the Clippers, out there for the remainder of the game. And they just left a guy like Joe Ingles who can, one, at least score. And if you're going, hey, you know what? We're forgetting defense. We're just going to go trade buckets. The Jazz didn't do that either. They just let Mitchell get doubled. Nobody else moved. They didn't try to get the ball into the paint to exploit size matchups. They just sat there and said, we're just going to get shredded defensively and just
So the bigger question is why not change the lineup? Why not change the lineup instead?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, sure, but I don't think your first point in Gobert getting the gym, I don't think that does anything. It does not change anything.
It would next year. If you want to keep Gobert on the floor, he needs to be able. If you want to have a guy like Rudy Gobert, if you want to have a big guy and you don't want to go small, you say, look, we want to keep a center on the floor. That center better be able to exploit a matchup on the other end. Like Aaron Baines, not the defensive player that Rudy Gobert is. Aaron Baines at least has a little bit. He can like post a guy. He's got little flip shots and little hooks and things. Rudy Gobert, I watched. They did it a couple of times. They got him the ball, and he's like fading away. It's like, dude, just go up. Just go right over the guy. Go, attack the rim. It baffles me to see guys who have size. You can't learn how to be 7 feet tall. You can learn how to pump fake. You can learn how to use your brain in the paint. And it just baffles me to not see that happening with these guys. But to your
Yeah,
point,
it's not the NBA anymore.
to your point, though, if you don't want to do that, why are you not changing the lineup? Why are you not putting Joe Ingles on the floor instead of Gobert and just going small?
Sure,
for small?
that's where I would go first before I would say Gobert needs to do this, do that. No,
So
I
that's
think
what's
Gobert
shocking,
is what he
just to
is.
see a team that we
Well,
thought
I
was
mean-
smart and well coached just completely lose their minds. You see Quinn Snyder post game, dude was tweaking out.
Yeah, I mean, how often have they been in this spot though? Not very often.
He got
Like
kept
the Utah
rubbing every
Jazz were
single
never
side of
the
it.
best team in pretty much any year, and then all of a sudden now they're number 1 seed. They won the first 2 at home and then lost 4 straight.
Yeah.
And the
But
Clippers have
but blowing a game like that. It's not, hey, we
Yeah,
got to the second
sure.
round and then we just didn't have it. They were up 26 points? 27 points? And you blow it. That's just stunning.
It's only 9
Really
threes.
stunning. Unbelievable.
And with shooters, I mean, look, the Clippers have a lot of talent. They have a lot of shooters. They have a lot of offensive ability. I think they're pretty solid on defense in some respects, but more so you got guys, other than Pat Bev, who's pretty much on that side, like Reggie Jackson, who's been a Celtics killer his entire career. He only makes shots. That's the only thing he does. Obviously Paul George, and then the Clippers always have that one guy that shows up, whether it's man or somebody else. I feel like they always have that random guy that you wouldn't think of that scores 20-something points and gets you to that point in the game where you can win it. And ultimately, I think the Clippers are still good without Kawhi. Maybe he'll be ready for some games. I doubt it against Phoenix. But either way, that series is going to be pretty close just based on the two teams. And I think you will see another opportunity for the Clippers to go small again in that series.
Yeah. So they're playing the Suns. Quick turnaround. That's happening today. 3:30. 5 hours from now. No CP3. Tested positive for COVID. Do we know if he was vaccinated or not? Has that at all been confirmed?
I would guess not, but I'm not sure. I
don't know. I know it's possible. I know it's possible for somebody to be vaccinated and still. And
yeah,
as far as I've heard, I don't think he's symptomatic. It's not like he's sick. He's just tested positive.
Yeah, so he's in the protocol or whatever.
He's in COVID protocol. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I mean, not knowing the status of his vaccination makes it harder to determine anything. Obviously, maybe internally they have, contact tracing to find out. For a guy, though, that has had a very unlucky career in terms of postseason success, you'd think that once they closed out the Nuggets in 4 games and you knew you're going to have some time off, I'd be like, I'm going to sit in a bubble.
Well, nobody else tested positive, right? So what was he doing?
I ain't going to go nowhere. I ain't going to do anything. I want to be on the floor for the conference finals. Now he's not going to be, and we don't know how long it will be before he's back. It's minimum 10 days.
Yeah.
But they're pushing these series quick. They're trying to get the finals over and done with by like the 20th of July, well before that, because they are earlier. They want to have as many NBA players available for the Olympics, which I think is a big mistake because most of them just want to opt out of doing it anyways. That's why we're seeing all these injuries. They've been cramming these games. It's like this playoffs it's nice, games every night.
If we didn't go through the last year that we did, then I wouldn't. Then I would question it more. But I don't know. I'm not going to go too nuts with that. Like, look at the schedule from last year to this year. It's just kind of been a weird.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Situation.
But they're cramming this playoff in after what was everybody said a kind of a brutal regular season. The playoffs has been just as brutal. It's bang, 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 bang. And that's where I think you're seeing the teams that are left, these accumulation of injuries. I mean, Kawhi Leonard is a non-contact injury. And he's a guy who's enjoyed his load management throughout this last couple of years of his career. So it's kind of no surprise to see some of these guys going down and wearing down. So when you're, Chris Paul you're already dealing with a shoulder injury. I'd like to think that a guy at that point in his career, given the things he's already gone through, the last thing you'd want to have happen is, oh, I wasn't being responsible enough and I got COVID and that's why I couldn't be on the floor. Because with him on the floor, I think the Suns are the favorite. If Chris Paul is on the floor, I think the Suns are the favorite. Because he's bringing that calm and that veteran presence. Without him, I have no idea what kind of even keel the Suns can keep themselves on. And you fall down 0-2, 0-3 to this Clippers team, it's over.
I mean, I would combat that with saying, Chris Paul maybe not on the floor. If Kawhi's on the floor, I think the Clippers are the favorite.
I don't think he is, man. I mean, how... It seems like he did something...
No, I don't think he's going to be. I'm saying if he wasn't hurt or something, I think the Clippers are the favorite, just based on Kawhi's the only one in this series that's been there and done it.
Oh, of course. But I'm envisioning right now, I mean, even if Kawhi comes back, he's going to be extremely limited.
Probably.
I don't know if there's been any further reporting. I mean, I thought he tore his ACL. It's really the way he was moving, the way he was playing with the knee on the sideline and limping. That's classic. You tore something. And I'm amazed we haven't seen more reporting on this to confirm. But it would seem somehow there hasn't been. Maybe they haven't even done the test. We don't want to know.
Yeah.
We don't want to know. Paul Pierce did that in 2008 after he tweaked his knee in Game 1, the infamous wheelchair.
Wheelchair.
But they asked him, hey, we want to MRI it. And he was like, don't. I think I can move. I feel like I can move. I don't want to know.
Really, he just had to take a dump, though, right? Wasn't that the story?
That was why he was in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
But he did
tweak his knee, yeah.
He had tweaked his knee, and he had a cleanup surgery on it in the offseason, but they didn't want to know. He was like, nope, don't want to know. I feel like I can move. It's loose enough. Let's just go. Put a sleeve on it. I'm gonna give it a try. So, yes, Kawhi Leonard's healthy. Clippers are the favorites out of the remaining teams now.
Do we know what Chris Paul is going to be when he gets back, though? How many guys have we seen go into COVID protocol, come back, and not be the same player for weeks, right?
Yeah.
So now you're talking...
If he's symptom... I mean, that's the one thing I don't know. Have guys been asymptomatic but still experienced COVID fog?
Cam Newton?
Was he asymptomatic, though? I thought
he was, yeah.
I don't know. Or was that also all an excuse?
I think that was a playbook fog, though, not COVID fog.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, either way,
Cover 2 fog.
Symptomatic, not symptomatic, a little bit of whatever he is, is he going to come back? He hasn't been in the gym, right? What has he been doing? Is he going to come back after 3 games and the Clippers are up 2-1 and really make this the Suns the favorite to win the series? I'm not sure. I mean, it's going to be weird now because supposedly he's the only one that tested positive, right? So I don't know what he was doing by himself, and it also could have been bad luck. We don't know, but maybe celebrating too early. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I hope it wasn't that. It'd be such a shame for that guy to have that happen to him after.
Because I think they have a real shot. I mean, the Suns are right there, and they have a real shot. They have a stud in Devin Booker, and Paul is, that next guy there, and good leadership. So it's kind of a bummer to see it happen that way. But hey, the Suns are still good to figure it out, good enough to figure it out. But if Paul George wants to be that one guy, I don't know. Do the Suns have enough beyond Booker to get by the Clippers?
Isn't it exciting, though? I mean, I think after the Nets, the Nets still being in it would have been obviously the team everyone would be rooting against.
Yeah.
I wonder how Kyrie's going to feel now, knowing that he can no longer unite the world with his championship run.
Oh, he's in his element now. He doesn't have to play basketball.
Yeah. But I think it's just really exciting for the league. People will argue differently. Hey, you need the big markets in there to get money. I know it's LA with the Clippers, but it's not the Lakers. I think this is exciting for basketball. The Warriors losing to the Raptors, there was a lot of extenuating, hey, another team won, but the Warriors were not the Warriors. Steph was banged up, Clay got hurt, Durant got hurt. It was not the same Warriors bandwagon. This is exciting. You've got a lot of teams that are, the Clippers are kind of a mix of some homegrown stuff and at least a team that's kind of slowly built it. They're not one of these assembled, it feels like it's cheating super teams. The Suns are obviously homegrown. The Sixers have basically been homegrown, and the Hawks are homegrown. This is a really exciting Final Four.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, look, it's not
And
LeBron,
unless
Kevin
it's all
Durant.
sweeps in the conference finals and the finals, like we only get 12 more NBA games, I think this is going to be a really exciting stretch.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I think in either way, it's not LeBron James versus Kevin Durant, but you still have some star power. Giannis, Embiid, Trae Young, Devin Booker. Like, look all over the league. It's all young talent. It's all guys that are these next echelon players that are coming up in the league that will be here for what, 10 years? So still exciting in that respect. Paul George, the list goes on. But
a lot of
there's still
guys who
star
could get over
power.
the hump. Giannis signs that max contract to stay in Milwaukee. Does he get rewarded? Does Paul George finally get over the hump? Then you got the young teams. It could be a Philly, it could be Phoenix, maybe Atlanta. I mean, it'd be real. It's exciting. Who are you picking in this game one here? Suns, Clippers.
Right now, I have to go Clippers.
I think I gotta agree. The time off for Phoenix, no CP3. Clippers are gonna be feeling themselves. Clippers game one. I agree. So that's the game action. Let's quickly hit on here the non-game things that happened this week. The Boston Celtics swing a trade. Brad Stevens' first move here as president of basketball operations. Kemba Walker, thank you very much. Love you. Didn't work out. Hello and welcome back, Al Horford. So the Celtics, they end up having to throw in a first-round pick, and they get Al Horford back. Christian, we were on this with Matt Murphy way back in March. And I want, for those that may not remember, let me pull this up. I'll play it for the listening audience. Why we thought Al Horford made a lot of sense back at the trade deadline. And why I still think what we said then applies now and makes sense. So let me go ahead and pull this in. So this was us back in March. Al Horford, turning him into the walking, talking TPE. Because like you said, you have to use it. Teams know you have to use it. If you wait till the offseason, you could get bent over the barrel anyway. So why not buy a quote-unquote bad contract and at least get something from a player who has value?
Yeah, I mean, that's huge because the trade exception, it expires 1 year from the date of that move. I think it was in November when Hayward got moved.
Yep.
So if you could get Horford for basically nothing, I mean, hey, that's shooting with size. And you're able to extend the life of that trade exception. You're no longer under pressure to make a move this offseason. And also you can aggregate his salary with other pieces to bring back even more, potentially a Bradley Beal, who's been rumored to want to play with Jason Tatum. I mean, I would love to see Al Horford back here, mostly for the contract reason. I think there'd be a lot of fans that wouldn't understand it, would be all upset thinking about his time in Philly and how he left us and how he's performed on that contract. But yeah, that would definitely give us a lot of flexibility going forward.
I think all of that kind of stays true. He's going to be one. We've gotten away from trying to justify Kyrie leaving by getting scoring point guard, which this team doesn't need because of Tatum and Brown. They need a facilitator. You have the flexibility now to keep Evan Fournier with the contract situation now. You have more money for him. Yep. Horford's going to provide leadership, and he provides a skill set that even at 35 still works. Hit some corner threes, move the ball, pass first big man. He has a post game where
he's very good in pick and roll as well.
His game ages very well, right? So he's going to be useful to you this year. His contract is very manageable going forward if you just want to waive him and get him off your books, or to still use to go after bigger fish at any point this year or in the years going forward. This trade tells you a lot about what Brad Stevens wants to do versus how Danny Ainge approached things. Brad was saying, we're going to get rid of Kemba, and I'm going to throw in a first-round pick to make sure it happens too. That's never been Danny Ainge's MO.
You mean we gave up a Aaron Neesmith in the middle of the first round again?
Danny Ainge hoarded those picks.
Unbelievable.
So right away we've learned Brad is willing to give something to get something. This is the type of trade we've been wanting to see happen. You know, when there's not that big fish to go out and throw the barrel at, throw the kitchen sink at. This is a great move. I love this move. I think this is fantastic, and I think it helps prop open this window here of what's the next 3 to 4 years with Tatum and Brown going to be like. And it'll depend on signing Fournier and who's the point guard of this team this year. I definitely think there's still moves to be made. For the moment, it's Marcus Smart.
Lonzo Ball.
That's a name I like. That is a name I definitely like. Because defense, pass first, facilitator, floor general. Now, his dad's a pain in the ass, but Lonzo at least is kind of, I think LeVar's a little too fixated with, LaMelo now in Charlotte. So, Lonzo
he's got a new favorite son, so
Lonzo's
it's time to move
kind of
on.
separated himself from his dad. Lonzo Ball would be a great fit. So he has an option with New Orleans, so he could either sign that and then you trade for him, or you could just sign him outright if the team doesn't want. I think it's a team option. I can't remember. It's a team or a player option. I'm not sure. If he has that option, you could trade for him. If not, you're going to have to maybe pay for him. I don't know what that would look like. Sign and trade. Who knows? That's a name I'd take. So I love this trade. I think this does a lot of really good things, and it's already kind of giving you a window into Brad Stevens' mindset with how to approach constructing a roster and constructing a roster for this year and a vision for the team. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I like it. Ultimately get rid of a bad contract in Kemba Walker. It didn't work out. I mean, let's just say it like it is. I mean, he was a good player, good leader for that was Tatum's guy. Supposedly he helped kind of bring Walker here after, the whole Gordon Hayward situation and all that, and Kyrie leaving, but it just didn't work out. He had the knee problem coming into last year, carried over to this year. He's kind of a ball dominant guy. He wants to shoot. He's good in pick and roll, but he holds the ball a little bit. And I think it's truly Jason Tatum's team now. So I think you want a guy that facilitates. I don't think it should be Marcus Smart. I think Smart is a great 6 guy to come off the bench, give you some energy. But a guy like Alonzo Ball is intriguing. The other reason I like it is because, let's not kid ourselves. Al Horford is not 28 years old, and he's not going to be this all-star and stud 4 to 5, whatever you want to put him at. But he's very good in pick and roll, and he was very good when he was here in terms of Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. Not only giving screens, but he's a guy that can stretch. So he can set, clean screens, whatever. He's great in pick and roll, and he can also shoot. He can still do that at 35. It's not like he's, over stressing himself shooting behind the 3-point line. So a few reasons why I think it's good. And also the money. I think you kick some money down the line here. I want to say next offseason you have a little bit more room to do some things. And obviously now Fournier could come back and makes it easier.
Yeah. And the thing about Horford, too, is that at this point, he's not going to be complaining about a role or anything. Yeah. And people forget, he didn't play after the trade deadline in OKC. He was playing too well. They benched him to, 1, keep his value for the offseason to trade him, and 2, he was playing too good. They're like, whoa. We don't want to win.
We want to lose
games.
Yeah.
So he certainly has stuff left in the tank. Now, some other Celtics news came out this week. Just 2 days ago, news about Blake Griffin. Somebody telling Blake to stay away from this year's Celtics team because of issues with the competitive fire of the team and chemistry issues. There's no way to know for sure who was feeding him this. I think it was Tristan Thompson.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
As a guy who probably, I think, is also on his way out. I mean, I think I could see him back on the roster, but I don't really like it. I mean, we saw the Daniel Tice and Tristan Thompson double big lineup and how that worked out. I don't want to see that with Al Horford and Tristan Thompson. Like Tristan Thompson, if you want to be like the third center, we play you when we just want a guy to go in there and be a bruiser, sure. But I'd much rather get away from him. I honestly think the center position of all the positions that could look way different for this team going forward is the one that could have the most turnover. I think you could see Tristan Thompson and you could see Rob Williams both gone before the season starts.
Yeah, it's possible. Sure.
Rob is a guy that contract year, even though he was a little injured this year, his stock is as high as it's probably ever going to be. Is he part of a bigger deal that lands you a Steven Adams or part of a Lonzo Ball trade, if that has to be the way you get a guy like that?
Yeah.
I love Time Lord. I think he's awesome. I'd love to see him stay and work out because I think he's a great fit. Same deal with Kemba, though. If you can't stay healthy, it really doesn't matter. And they're not going to pay him. There's no shot that they're paying him because some team will throw money at him next offseason to get him on their roster. Some young, like in Orlando, he'll go somewhere like that to go play and get paid like,
never be heard from.
Top mid-level money. So I think the center position could certainly get turned over. But more this news about the locker room issues, and then I guess another like little tidbit surfacing back about I guess Hayward back when he left. Some quote about him. I guess he told Brad that Brad needed to be more vocal and have a bigger voice in the locker room if they wanted to actually win a title. Now, Brad's not the coach anymore. But are you worried at all that any of that matters anymore? Or since it's going to be a new head coach and Brad's just a rung up for better, whether he deserved it or not, he's a rung up. He's picking the players now. He's not in there with the locker room day to day with the guys managing the team, that we can kind of forget whatever weirdness, whatever things Brad lacked as a coach. Hopefully the next coach has those things and can bring those things, and that those things won't be an issue. It's a whole new era, essentially.
Yeah.
We can forget the successes or failures of Brad Stevens and say, no, we're starting fresh here.
I don't know. It's going to be tough. So there was something on a local radio here that said Sam Cassell is, top tier to be the next coach. That's one thing that you have to figure out if you're Stevens, right? But if I'm a Celtics fan, I'm getting a little bit worried about all these guys coming and going. Like, look at the team that you've had in the last 5 years here. You went from Kyrie Irving to now Kemba is gone, Hayward walked, Horford walked. A lot of guys are coming in here and not winning a thing and then kind of just jetting. So,
But
and
now
those
Brad's not
are
the coach. We're changing
yeah,
the
sure,
whole...
but I just feel like it's a whole. Like, are people going to come to Boston instead of like you put all the eggs in this Tatum basket now? We saw in the playoffs. I feel much better about Tatum than I did before in terms of can he get to that next level. He went toe to toe with Durant, Kyrie, Harden, all three of them, and he beat them in that game here. Great game, and he showed up all series. So you feel good about Jason Tatum, and he's got to be able to get guys here. But are we worried that Tatum's just going to jet after 3 years there and go play with Brad Beal or go play with another guy instead of, kind of bringing these guys to Boston, i.e. Kyrie? Like, the plan, let's not forget, the plan was Kyrie, Anthony Davis, and some combination of all, or maybe even Kyrie and Durant.
No,
something
the
like
plan
that.
was Isaiah, Hayward, Horford, and Paul George. That's where the plan, that's where we diverged. This timeline diverged there.
Maybe. Yeah. And then everything's off the track now because you signed Hayward, you signed Horford, you had a pretty good roster there. You brought in Kemba and those guys left. There's a lot of turnover here, and there's a few keys that are still in the locker room, and that's Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown.
Is that being said, those guys are still young, and this Brad Stevens era is now over. Does this team have to take a big... I know they're going to obviously want to field a competitive team. I think whoever the coach is, they're going to be, obviously, I think, playing harder. The roster is going to be constructed in a way to more focus on the Jays. But does the expectations have to dramatically change? And we've said this, like, they got to the conference finals all those years. But it was, as you said, different teams. It was a veteran team. Then it was a very overachieving young team. Then you threw veterans on top of that. And it was then the last 2 years, 19, 20, and then this year it was with Kemba trying to fill Kyrie's role, and it never really fit the way they wanted it to.
I'll see what it looks like later in the
Do they have to
offseason.
say, listen, we're building a roster so that Jalen and Jason can hopefully win this title in the next 3 years, but we're not going to overextend ourselves to try and make it happen right now.
I think they have to change the roster for this year, obviously, but also going forward. Like, they obviously have needs. And you cannot just hold on to Tremont Waters. You cannot just hold on to Grant Williams just because, they're there. Because you drafted them. Semi Ojeleye, all these guys. You have so many guys down the end of the bench that pretty much give you nothing. And they were all first, second round picks. And we didn't want to give them up, even for anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, package a couple of guys, a second round pick, and get a representable bench guy. Sure, you have to build the roster out. But I don't know if the expectation, look at the East right now. I feel like the Celtics roster, as constituted now, with Horford coming in and Kemba going out, still should be in that tier. I don't think the Hawks are astronomically better than the Boston Celtics at this point. So, yes, obviously injuries played a role, but you should be able to compete with all these teams in the East. It's just so wide open. I mean, with the exception of a healthy
not winning a
Nets
title
team.
next year unacceptable? You know what I'm saying? I'm saying that's
No. But I'm saying you have to be
new head coach. I want to see the culture shift. I want to see them get back to. I want to see a coach come in and make. I want to see the team playing hard. I think if they just played hard, they probably could have gone further this year.
Yeah, I in my opinion, no, it's not championship or bust. I mean, you can't look at the team and say that, but they got to be out of the first round.
Yes.
You can't be the 7th seed, an Eastern Conference middle or bottom of the Eastern Conference and get bounced in the first round. That's just you just can't.
But I'm
with
saying
this roster,
expectations are just be better. That should take you further. But if it's, hey, Game 7, second round, highly competitive, against the Bucks or the Nets again next year, something like that.
Yeah.
And this new head coach, 3 years. And obviously you're not building a team from scratch. You got a lot of pieces in place. And it should be rung. Now, if you overachieve and get to the finals next year, nobody will be shocked because Jason Tatum's a dude. So that's just kind of where I think it needs to shift with new head coach. Now saying this is about Jalen and Jason and the next 3 to 7 years. Not we're trying to win this one for the 2017-18 Celtics that didn't win it.
Yeah, sure.
It's all of that is gone. It's done. It flopped. It didn't work. Brad Stevens, now you're in managerial role. Those teams that they constructed and tried to let's keep it together and kind of make it. It's a big reset from that standpoint. All of that is gone. That's all I'm saying. And I just think fans need to understand that's going forward. If they just play better and they're the 3 seed, and even if they lose into Game 7 next year to the Nets or the Bucks, as long as they're playing the right way, and I think, wow, we've got some good pieces under contract, and we're moving in a good direction, I'll be happy.
Full off season,
as opposed to if they swing for the fences and give everything up for Bradley Beal, and it's all right. We got Tatum, Brown, and Beal. It's or C.J. McCollum.
I'd still do that.
Or throwing it all in. I've said this. I don't want Damian Lillard because you're just gonna gut your team, and then what? Again, now you're down. Oh, now we're the Nets. We have to win in the next 2 years, or it's blow up time.
Didn't you say you would take Lillard last week?
For Kemba? If we were just swapping those two, sure.
Roll tape.
If we were just swapping those
guys
two,
in the back, roll tape on that.
I could find it if you want me to, but if you were just swapping Kemba and Lillard, sure. But now that's not happening. Now you have to gut your team to get Damian Lillard here, and your window is not, hey, we're getting better for the next couple of years with the eye towards winning it by year 3. It's got to win it this year because we put all these eggs in that basket. And then if it doesn't work out, Lillard gets hurt, somebody twists an ankle in the playoffs, now you're the Brooklyn Nets, who if they don't win next year, all those guys are going to leave. Durant and Harden and Kyrie will all be somewhere different in 2022. They will be. They ain't all going to stay in Brooklyn. They all can opt out. They'll all go join some other. They'll regroup with somebody else somewhere else. So
Yeah.
That's why I don't want to do a move for a guy like Lillard. That's why. I want to build around Jalen and Jason. Let Jason Tatum be the dude, and Jaylen Brown be dude number 2.
Dude 1 and Dude 2. All right, got it.
Dude 1 and Dude 2. Good nicknames. Anyway, there'll be plenty of time to get deeper into the Celtics offseason. And we'll get Matt Murphy on here as we approach the NBA draft, which is crazy to think is right around the corner. This whole everything happening in the fall and then again right here in the beginning of the summer. It just feels like it was yesterday, but the winter sports cruising right along. Turning our attention now to the NHL to kind of close out this week here. Conference finals are tight. Christian, Montreal's up 2-1. Getting nervous?
They have no business being in this series right now, by the way. Absolutely no business. And of course, Vegas is just puking on themselves. Marc-Andre Fleury's just kicking the puck into the crease for free goals.
Awful.
I'm stunned, but I'm not. And this is just capping off a great exit for the Bruins to Montreal, making a cup run. It's just wonderful. I'm so happy about it. Can't wait for the next. Can't wait for them to win the Stanley Cup, and I don't know what else to say.
Man.
Just yeah. At that point, I stand in the net and I let Zdeno Chara just Happy Gilmore batting cage style slap shot at me.
Both of these series, I said this. Should Tampa Bay and Vegas be in the final? Yes. but
hockey gods are not letting it happen.
Montreal and the Islanders, they just got that something that's just so about them. And the longer the Islanders hang around, like that series is 2-2 now. And I just think the Islanders have got something. I don't know how many horseshoes they bought and had blessed and where they put those horseshoes, but it's working for them right now. I mean, you see Pollock last night. Talk about
save of the series.
Is that the best non-goalie save ever?
Ever? I don't know. Michael Ryder had a pretty good one, years back. Ever? I don't know, but it's up there. Yeah. I mean, look, there's 7 seconds to go, and McDonough's just trying to do a spinorama, wide open net, by the way, and Pollock just gets down and makes a glove save on it. Considering you don't have goalie equipment as a defenseman there, it's not like your glove is the size of a hockey goalie. He just puts his glove down there and he made it. I mean, he just.
And when you watch the
ridiculous.
replay, it's like he comes out of nowhere. I mean, he's right there, but then he gets down so fast, and you watch it in slow motion, and he's kind of gliding, and then the shot comes in. Whoom! All of a sudden, he's just. He guessed correctly.
Yeah, this is what the Islanders do. These are the things they do.
And listen, Bruins fans, I think, didn't want to listen to Penguins fans. And I think Lightning fans didn't want to listen to Bruins fans. And now Bruins and Penguins fans are sitting there going
we told you.
See? So this is what I'm saying, Christian. Should you just embrace rooting for the Islanders now? Would you rather have the Islanders or the Canadians win it?
Oh, Islanders! Look, at this point,
because you said you wanted to get a little. You said you wanted to get a little into the series to see how you felt. Get away from that Bruins game.
Vegas has put me in a situation where it's just anybody but Montreal. So Vegas is going to put me in a situation where I have to root for the freaking Lightning, or the Islanders. I would be okay with, but because Vegas apparently just love to just puke on their own skates, and slip on it. Now I'm going to have to root for freaking Lightning or the Islanders, which I would be okay with. But if the Lightning come through and it's Montreal and Tampa Bay, I have to root for the freaking Lightning, and I can't stand them.
I want to see. I think these series will all. I mean, the NHL has spread things out a little more than the NBA. So yes, all these series will be wrapped up by next show. Game 4 for Montreal and the Golden Knights is tonight at 8 p.m. And then Game 5 for the Islanders Lightning is tomorrow at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And then the following games are all Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, alternating. I think the Islanders are going to do it, man. It's
the Islanders did get to 6 games last year with Tampa and lost it, but
yeah,
tied 2-2. I believe they're going back to Tampa now, so we'll see. But I mean, look, you get to the Coliseum, anything can happen because that place is it's loud.
The old barn.
There's no Wi-Fi. They're on dial-up service. It's just a weird place to play at this point. So anything can happen once you go back there.
Yeah. I think the Islanders are going to find a way. It's just at this point they've gotten so many bounces. The only way I think they lose is if it like all happens horrifically the other way, and you got pucks like ricocheting off the glass, falling in behind goal. Like it'd have to go so far the other way to make up for it. It'd be insane. I think honestly, Vegas. I think. I mean, Fleury's a guy who's been obviously his career was starting to do this. Then he gets to Vegas. He's been much better. Does that absolute blunder? Does he come unraveled?
I don't know. I mean, you're at Montreal again. He is he's an adventure. I mean, he's won a cup, so he knows how to win. But he can be such an adventure sometimes. It's just ridiculous. I mean, like I said, Montreal had no business being in that game the other night. I don't know how much you caught of it, but I mean, Vegas should have run them off the ice. And until that stupid play where he kicked the puck into the crease and gave it to Anderson, I think it was.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous. And now here you go. You're in Montreal again. You're going to go down 3-1 and come back from that? I don't know. So they got to win tonight. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
There's a big difference between 3-1 and 2-2. So you get on 3-1, look out. But I just I can't believe Vegas is going to lose the series. I just don't believe that yet.
Hard to believe. I want to do some research on this, best non-goalie save. We should try and do some research and come back next week with like a little highlight package of those. I think if Chara made one, I think.
Chara did, yeah.
Was that in 2011 or was that in 2013?
It might have been 13.
He was kind of Chara's obviously a bigger guy. It was on like the puck. Somebody shot from the right wing side. I mean, he basically was down on one knee and he just like turning and blocked it, I think, with his shoulder or his arm. Obviously he's a much bigger guy in front of the net. To the side of the net. I don't think it's as impressive as last night's, but certainly in the list, if you were going to come up with like a top 10, it's there. Maybe pushing top 5. Cup.
It's definitely up there.
I'd say there should have to be playoffs, right? I think there's probably a good list of. There's probably a ton of like regular season instances of this, but in the playoffs, when like especially like that with so much on the line, to have that happen is just epic. So we'll have to come up with a good. I think that'd be good. Hey, we haven't done top 5s or anything like that in a while.
I gotta see if that Michael Ryder save. It was in 11. It was against Montreal, but I don't know if it was the playoffs. I think it was April, May timeframe, so probably not. But that
April could have been that.
Maybe it could have been.
That could. I mean, they were playing the first round late April, so.
But I'll tell you, he made that was one of the best non-goalie saves I've ever seen because he did like a the catcher's mitt kind of thing and he hit it to the end boards. That was one of the best ones. But I'd have to do some research because now I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Quickly here, Christian. At the end. Major League Baseball has finally started to crack down on the spider tack material. So, hey, guess what, pitchers? You can't put like industrial strength resin on your hands. I mean, it's amazing some of these guys can even throw the ball. You're not going to see the like it's stuck to their hand. I think this whole thing's been fascinating because normally, you have a team, if another team is like cheating, some way in sports. You say, hey, what are they doing? If it's something you're not doing too, right? Like, hey, what's that guy doing on the sideline? Or, hey, what's that guy got there? But you've seen it's like a fractured thing in baseball where all the pitchers are in cahoots to do it. And the hitters, their teammates, are pissed because they're like,
the best part about it is
we're having our career worst years at the plate because of this.
Yeah.
So the pitchers are like, hey, I've got a 7.95 ERA, but this year I got like a 1.95 ERA. This is great. I'm a contract year. I ain't gonna rat out somebody else for it. Meanwhile, a guy standing at the plate like, no, dude, I'm in a contract year and I'm slugging like 185 right now. Like, what the heck?
the best part about it is the pitchers are going to post-game press conferences telling you they're cheating using something and bitching about it. It's the best part about it.
Yeah.
They're complaining that they're cheating and they can't do it anymore. That's all I've heard the last 2 weeks is Garrett Cole and these guys who have the RPMs and the spin rates who are going up and down all over the place. They're telling you they're doing it, and they're mad that they can't cheat anymore. That's basically where we are at in baseball.
Yeah, and there's always been things.
Yeah.
Like they got they have a resin bag. A little bit of tack. Guys have always get a little spit on the ball.
Yeah.
I think that the spit. I think that's a little bit. I got some chewing gum.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's a little backyard baseball. I think that's all in good spirit of the sport.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to take some material that's designed to hold up columns on bridges, and I'm going to put that stuff on my hands so I can throw the ball. God knows what sort of skin issues these guys are going to have. 5 years, oh man, why is my hand turning black?
I get it. They need something. A lot of guys use sunscreen. I heard this. Maybe you combine sunscreen in the rosin bag and put it together and make, some other thing that they have on the mound. But you cannot use industrial grade super gorilla spider tech to get your grip. What are the hitters supposed to do? Do you want to give them the backyard baseball 2001 aluminum bat the size of my head? What are we doing here?
That kid plastic bat.
Yeah. I think at that point you're using spider tech. We're using the aluminum bats.
Yeah.
Because what else can you do? I understand they need something, right? You get a little bit better grip. It's hot some nights. You're sweating. Whatever reason you need extra grip. But I just you can't use this stuff. It just goes too far one way or the other.
Well, and the other thing too is that it's like with steroids, right? We all know probably 80% of guys in the NFL are taking something. Those guys are so big.
Yeah.
They're so strong. But you know what? The sport is a brutal sport. If a guy wants to take HGH to come back from an injury, I think he should. Who cares? The game is so overly physical, and just having a physical advantage does not skew the competitiveness of the sport that much, right? It's a gladiator sport.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball, you tweak these little things like that, it goes out of control. And if it was just guys spitting on the ball or doing a little of this, it wouldn't be that obvious. And honestly, it's don't pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Nobody would care, right? Hey, when a guy has never even hit a home run in his entire career through pee-wees and minors, and then all of a sudden he's jacky, slugging 650. It's I think this guy's on something. When you have to this point the third worst batting average league wide since 1908, you have to go back to the dead ball era, and it goes 1911, 1908, 2021. 1903.
Yeah.
It's glaringly all the no-hitters. It's so obvious that something is happening, that there's a glaring advantage, that some sort of shenanigans is happening, that now the veil is drawn back and it's a really bad look. So I say good on MLB for actually doing something about this.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think you can find a middle ground here. I understand the pitchers are pissed because maybe they've been using this stuff for years and it hasn't been a huge conversation. Now that it is, find a middle ground. In defense of the pitchers, you're coming off using this stuff for the last 3 years, whatever it is. So now it's going to feel different. Yeah. So find something else, whether it's rosin combined with something that does not create this huge disparity. just to get a little extra grip, sure, do that. That's fine. But I mean, like when the stats go way in the other direction, we're talking like Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire are not on steroids, but they're hitting 60 bombs a year. The pitchers' ERAs are down in 0.31, and we have 35 no hitters when that's never been a thing. I mean, it just can't be one way or another that far in the direction.
Especially when it's not like this was a trend. It's not like, hey, batting average has been going down the last 15 years. This is a product of just an adjustment to coaching and a new style of play. 2 years ago, we had like 5 straight years of the batting average going up to all-time highs because they were juicing the balls.
Yeah.
I guess it's just a case of shenanigans begets shenanigans. The league's like, we want more offense. Yes, more home runs. Yes, more scoring. Give them these basically sponge balls to just mash out of the park. And the pitchers are like, okay, well, I'm going to put, NASA level rosin on my hand. And my hand is going to detach and go with the ball. It'd probably get to a point, if they didn't crack down on this, we'd see a guy like lose a finger. He'd de-glove. His skin
I know.
Come right off with the ball.
Have you seen the clip of the ball getting stuck to Yadier Molina's chest plate?
Yeah.
It gets stuck to his catcher's gear, and he's like looking around for it, but it's just stuck there. Something's on the ball
listen,
at that point.
I'm all for if you wanted to adjust baseball. I've always said, hey, fan-controlled trap doors in the outfield. You got to vote while that ball's in the air. Whoever's in the air, you want to go WWE with baseball to get people to watch? That's a good way. If you actually want it to still be a sport, you can't let guys put flubber on their hands and throw the baseball.
By the way, the ERA drop off, it's been this year maybe, or the stats this year mostly. But that clip from Yadier Molina is from 2017. So they've been using it for however long. Yeah. Whether it's this particular stuff, but they got to get some middle ground because it's like steroids, banging on trash cans, spider tech. This is where baseball is.
Man. And I guess it's a good thing that we're talking about it because at least the sport is still remaining interesting.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. I think baseball, at its purest, is still a great sport. It doesn't need to do anything special. Just let baseball be baseball. Like college baseball is fantastic. You get a really good feel for the pace of the sport. Let's go. Pro baseball, I think the money and a lot of other things have just kind of, and all this other shenanigans has just kind of made it an unwatchable product at times. But hopefully that'll change. And obviously, pretty soon, in about a month, well, we'll have the Olympics to get us through July.
True.
But baseball might be all we have. Actually, maybe not. Because we're going to go right from NBA, NHL to Olympics to NFL training camp opening up soon. So we'll have plenty more to talk about next week on that front. A lot of these playoff series will be coming to conclusions. So we'll be able to talk more about that. NBA draft is coming up. And we'll probably try and get Matt Murphy back on the program to help break down the prospects. Because at this point, I have no freaking clue what the NBA draft looks like. So I'm sure Matt's in the lab cooking up all the.
Oh yeah, he's nerding out right now. He's loving it.
Oh, as soon as that Kemba Walker trade went down, he texted me. He was like, "Well, there goes my productivity for the day." And I'd have these strings of scenarios and contract things and how it works. And there's still all sorts of stuff about like when they want to actually make the trade happen. Do they want to count it towards last year's books versus next year's books and all this? There's so many.
Welcome to the NBA.
So many moving parts.
This is why we have Matt, so I don't have to do it myself because I can't. That's a headache.
Let him get the popsicle headache. So that is going to do it for us. Thank you for joining and listening with us here live. We're live every Sunday. Today we started at 10, with it being Father's Day. We want to get out and spend some time with both of our fathers. It is a gorgeous day to do so. But normally we start at 11 a.m. on Sundays with the live show on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch. You can catch us live. You can catch us in the comment sections of the live streams there. If you can't catch us live, you can watch archive versions of the show on all those platforms or subscribe to the 360 Sports Show podcast through Sounder FM or wherever you get your podcast from. And you can always email us throughout the week at the 360sportshow@gmail.com with your questions, comments, and concerns. So that'll do it for this week. Christian, enjoy the day. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, especially my dad. I know I'll be seeing you soon. Lounging on the beach. That's the plan for today. Is just working on the tan some.
Good day.
So, happy Father's Day to all, and we'll catch all of you next week.
See ya.